Can you do me a quick favor? I know I didn't prep for this. Can you look up there? Can y'all see up there in the ceiling? Y'all see that? Y'all see? If y'all had not been paying attention, we are in the middle of doing renovations inside of this room. The reason we're doing renovations is because this room, in my humble opinion, used to look ugly. Like it looked like old coffee stains and doodle butter. We're not gonna go there. It looked trash for a little bit. It's not that it always looked trash, but this room hasn't been updated in like 40 years, and none of us were alive the last time it was updated, and that is a problem. So me, Pastor Gafar, some of your leaders in here, have decided to take upon ourselves to update this room, make it look a little bit different, change it from the inside, so then when we get more people to come in, it'll be at least like this. Is that cool, you guys?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna stop right there. Even you guys who are online, I need you guys to be able to respond in the chat when I ask questions because that's who I am. So the people who are in person ain't got no reason to not be responding. Is that okay with you guys that we're changing this room?
Yeah.
Thank you. I heard it right. I like it. It's gonna be a really good service. Speaking of us changing things on the inside, we're going to do a little bit of that tonight, a little bit of renovation with our lights. For those who don't know who I am, my name is Pastor Zack, and I have the privilege of sharing with you guys just for a little bit of time. I will try to keep this as quickly as possible, starting myself on the clock, so I'm not going to be here forever. But I did want to talk about one thing that is super important when you think about doing life in general. How many people realize life is tough? Raise your hand, say something out loud, put something in the comments if you feel like you recognize, if nothing else, even if your whole life is rough. 2020, rough. It's like dog barking rough. Like it is the grass that is not in the fairway for golf. It is rough. It is one of the roughest things that we have ever seen in our life. It has been a year. And one of the things that I've recognized that we need the most is, like I said, we're doing renovations in this room, but a lot of us need to do some renovations within our life. I know, at least I can say for me, and maybe you guys are better than me, which is perfectly okay. I always like to surround myself with people who are better than me. But I know that I got some work that I need to do perfect. I ain't perfect. I got some flaws and some areas that I'm trying to grow and change. And how many people in here can say that they got some areas that they know that they can change a little bit? Maybe not every area of your life. You got some areas that you do really well. Like maybe you're like really good at math, or you're really good at science, or you're really good at eating. I'm really good at eating. I can do that better than most people. But like, you recognize that there may be an area that you need to grow in. It's important. We all have areas that we need to renovate. Tonight, we're going to talk about one of the most important things that we can do to have renovation within our lives. Actually, we're not going to just talk about it tonight. I actually have the privilege to share next week as well. I asked Pastor Des if she was on about 2 weeks in a row, and we've been going back and forth, but I really was really passionate about a certain topic. So we're going to talk about Jesus, because we're in this Jesus series. How many people remember that we're in the Jesus series? All throughout 2020, we are talking about Jesus and fill in the blank. We talk about Jesus and forgiveness, Jesus, and what the Gospels mean, and how we can learn more about Jesus. We're talking about Jesus and friendships and boundaries. Tonight and next week. Someone said next week. Someone said next week like they mean it.
Next week.
I was hoping someone said next week like they mean it, but y'all wasn't paying attention. So next week and this week as well, we are going to be talking about Jesus on, so give me a drum roll. Empathy. Jesus on empathy. I need a volunteer. Someone who has pretty good handwriting. I need someone to help me up here on the board because my handwriting looks like chicken scratch on steroids. So someone raise their hand that got good handwriting. Looking for someone. So none of y'all got good handwriting. All of y'all just write with y'all left elbow is what I'm hearing. Y'all should be putting marker on this. We're gonna let Melissa be our volunteer for tonight. Thank you so much, Melissa. Yes, you're all right on my God, queen. You better do it. I'm super excited to have Melissa up here helping us with Jesus on empathy. We're going to just to start. I want you guys to shout out what you feel like the word empathy means. You can write it in the comments as well. What do you feel like the word empathy means?
Having compassion for someone.
Having compassion for someone. So put compassion. That was a lot of words. It's kind of like having compassion for someone. But thank you so much, Pastor Ed. Someone else put what
somebody's pain.
Feeling somebody's pain. Feeling pain. I'm just kind of short with what you said. That was a little bit. One or two more. Empathy. What do y'all think of these? Feelings. See, I like it. He said one word, so she don't have to shorten it. I feel you. You know the same thing. One other person. Looking from the outside in. Y'all love Jesus. Outside in. So if you are not paying attention and you see this board later, you're going to be like, I don't know what we're talking about. Outside in, pain, feelings, compassion. What is the word? We're talking about empathy this evening. One other question before Melissa sits down. You can do like a little line, and then that's the best line in the world. My mind is looking wobbly. One other thing that I have a question is, who is your neighbor? Someone tell me who their neighbor is. My friend. Okay, put your friend. Put my friend specifically, because I felt that my friend. You ever have my friend? My friend is better than your friend. My friend is my friend. Who else is your neighbor? Someone say.
My coworker.
Your coworkers. Okay. My dad. Okay. What other person? Roommates. College girl in the house at roommates. You get it now? Cool. Hold on. Coolie. Oh, you said your sister. We're gonna let that be the last one. Sorry. I got this by love you too. So we've talked about what empathy looks like. We talked about who our neighbor is, and what do those two things have to go together? You may be seated for now. I will call you back up at the end. Thank you so much. Give a round of applause for Melissa. R-O-C-K. She rocks. So we're going to be talking about who our neighbor is. To help with that, one of the things that I know that can be really, really important is how many people have ever moved? Raise your hand if you've ever, you don't live in the same house, apartment, townhouse, whatever it is, now that you lived in for your entire life. If you live in the same place for your entire life, that is impressive. But how many people have ever moved in their life? Ever? So, a little bit of background about who I am. I have moved several times. I was born in Oklahoma. You're like, how do you get born there? I don't know either. I was born in Oklahoma, then I moved to South Carolina, lived in two houses when I lived in South Carolina, moved from South Carolina to the big Ohio. I love Ohio. That has got a great place in my heart. Then I moved from Ohio to Georgia. The reason I asked how many people have ever moved is because we're going to look at who our neighbors are, who we should have empathy with, who we should have compassion towards, and feel their pain, and just have feelings in general. Someone that we need to recognize and look at from our outside perspective inside of their lives. We're going to talk about that one tonight. Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah.
Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Y'all are so good. You guys will be on camera. Even if you're not on camera, you did what I'm saying. So tonight, I'm going to go ahead and begin. Bow your heads, close your eyes really quickly, even you at home. Lord, you're awesome. Speak to me. Amen. Whew. Deep, long prayer. We're going to jump into Luke 10. Luke 10. So if you're following on at home, you can pause the video, pull up your scripture. Maybe it's a Bible app. Maybe you're pulling up another tab on your computer, pulling up an iPad, whatever it is. Luke 10. We're going to read a little bit. This is from Jesus, the greatest God who ever lived. Bless him. He is the most awesome person to ever live. So we're going to talk about him a little bit. And it says, Luke 10, starting at verse 25 through 37. I'm going to read really quick, and then we're going to go back and invest into it a little bit. On one occasion, an expert in the law stood up to test Jesus. Teacher, he asked, what must I do to inherit eternal life? Ooh, I struggled to say that. I'm going to repeat it. Teacher, he asked, what must I do to inherit eternal life? What is written in the law? Jesus replied. How do you read it? He answered, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus says, you have answered correctly. Do this and you will live. But he wanted to justify himself, so he asked, who is my neighbor? So, firstly, I know I said I was going to read the whole thing, I couldn't. That man's wild. First of all, he walks up to Jesus. Hey man, This is a teacher. So just imagine you being in class, even if it's online, you're in class, right? And your teacher walks up to you, asks you how to answer this question. You're like, first of all, you already know the answer to this. Why are you asking me? You ever been there where they ask you a question, you're like, I don't need the answer. You are the one who's supposed to tell me the stuff. But this is what the teachers do. He's supposed to be someone who knew the law well. But what he did was, he came questioning Jesus. And what I want to encourage you to do, and what I want to emphasize is the importance of, when you do have a question for Jesus, make sure that you're asking honestly. Don't ask a question simply for the sake of, I'm trying to catch Jesus in a lie, because that's a lot of times what we do. Sometimes we ask a question to God like, God, what am I supposed to be doing with my life? But you already in your mind have made up what you want to do. You're not asking to really find wisdom. You're asking just to say that you ask. I want to encourage you that don't come to test Jesus, because Jesus has all the answers. But you know what he will do back? Just like we saw in scripture, he's going to ask you a question. Jesus, what am I supposed to do? What do you think you're supposed to do? Well, wait a minute, I can't ask you a question. Why are you talking to me like that? I think we have to recognize that when we know that Jesus, come to him with an honest and open heart. If we're going to learn how to really have empathy for others, it's important for you to have an honest and open heart. Not closed off, not asking questions to try to debate somebody. That's what I've seen a lot during these times. And people have been, I have empathy for others, I care about what they're going through, but they're only asking questions, if we're being honest, to debate somebody. I ask this question so I can see how I can trap them. That's not what we're supposed to do. That's not what Jesus did. Okay, let's jump back. In verse 30, it says, in reply, Jesus said, so remember in verse 29, he said, who is my neighbor? Let's talk about who your neighbor is. In reply, Jesus said, a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho. Anybody know how far that is? Okay, you're like, 7 hours. Okay, so it's about 25 kilometers. 25 kilometers, everybody knows how far that is. Except we don't, because we don't have that system. Because of course we don't. It is about 15 and a half miles. Okay, 15 and a half miles. That'd be like you driving from here 15 and a half miles. But instead, I didn't want to get everybody the details of where we're at because people are watching online. But instead, we're not driving anywhere, we're walking. Because this is Jesus' time. This is biblical time. They didn't have a Ferrari, they did not have a Porsche. They didn't even have a Honda Civic, even though Jesus didn't speak on this before. What they did have was their own 2 feet. So everything that they used to get around were their 2 feet, maybe some animals every now and then. So the guy was traveling from Jericho to Jerusalem. So again, what does that actually mean? This is about 6 hours of dead time. So 6-hour walk. 6-hour walk, I ain't gonna hold you. That's a long walk, bro. Like, we be at summer camp, and we be walking just up and down the hill twice, and I'll be like, bro, I'm done. Like, give me a golf cart. Give me a four-wheeler. Give me a scooter at least. Like, I can't do this anymore. 6 hours of walk. And so the guy is walking 6 hours, and he gets attacked by robbers. So that's like you walking in Union City, and someone runs up to you like, nah, bro, we don't like it. Boom, 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 boom. And then another one just, yay, yay, yay. Take your hand, slap some, yay. 2 pieces of biscuit, yay. Like, that man got paws laid upon him. Not Roberts. Like, he got jumped. So he gets jumped, right? They stripped him of all his clothes and belongings. So not just his clothes. That was stuck enough. But then it's like, oh, you had that new phone? Jug. Oh, you had the nice shoes? Jug. Oh, you had money in your wallet? Jug. Oh, you had that hat on? Oh, you can leave that. Nah, Jug took the hat too. Like, they took everything. And it was crazy. So they beat him, and then they went away, leaving him half dead. And then we're going to get to the part of the story where we're talking about empathy a little bit. As I got about 5 minutes left in the day. A priest happened to be walking down the same road when he saw the man. Everybody knows what he would do. That'd be like a pastor seeing a person who just got beat up, stripped naked, all of their belongings. What would you do? I mean, if you're a pastor, what would Pastor Des do? We know Pastor Des. She loves people. She looked at that man and said, Eek, I'm going to walk to the other side of the street because that's crazy. Let me go this way. Pastor Des wouldn't do that. That's not her. But in the story, that's what it would have been like. A pastor seeing a person walking to the other side of the street, pastor. Then we see a Levite, which would have been another Jewish leader of the time. Someone that would have been his true neighbor. Someone who he would have known well. Seeing him, oh, that man is struggling. I'm going to go this way, pass to the other side. And let's be honest. Maybe that's been us during this pandemic a little bit. Because you have to realize, if you saw someone who just got beat up, stripped naked, and was just laying there, you have a lot of legit reasons to pass to the other side. I'm gonna name a few. He's a hopeless case. Like, I can't do anything to help him. Or, you know what? I really gotta go see my family. Like, I'm on a mission to go somewhere. I can't stop and help him. Or, and this is legit, he must be a decoy so that they can ambush me too. Like, that's a legit excuse on why you would not want to stop and help him. That's legitimate. And I love the way that this spiritual leader in the faith, Charles Spurgeon, says it. Yes, that is an excuse. And I never knew a man to refuse to help the poor who failed to give at least one admirable excuse. Every single time that we look out and we find a reason not to help somebody, to not be Christ-like, to not love them, to not show empathy towards them, to not feel their pain, to not see what's going on, to not look at them from the outside in and see how we can help them, we're finding reasonable excuse. But let's see who actually stopped to help him. In verse 33. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. So what's the big deal about a Samaritan? So we saw the Jewish person like a priest. We saw the Levite, which those people would have been his actual neighbors in time. Like, that would be someone that you go to school with, seeing that you're struggling, that knows you, and being like, I'm going to pass over here because I don't want to get to the middle of that. What if that causes me pain, time, or discomfort? But a Samaritan, what's so big about being a Samaritan is if you actually look back at the time, Samaritans and Jews hated each other. They was like big enemies. Like, nah, bro, we don't function with each other at all. I've talked about this before, but do you know why the Samaritans and the Jews started being such at ends was because the Samaritans decided to marry some people who were not originally part of their race. So essentially, the reason that the Jews hated the Samaritans, I'm gonna boil it down real simple and blank, like, was just because they married people who weren't like them. It's crazy. We would say that's wild. But let's go back to America for a second. We've seen that too. Hate being spewed towards people just because they're a little bit different. Just because they chose to do something different. It's wrong. We would never do that. I would stop and help them. I see that person naked on the street, tripping. I would have been the first one over there. I would pick him up myself, carrying him all the way. Bare booty and all. But let's keep it above. Let's be honest for a second. How many times do we see some of our friends who really need help and we're not there for them like we should be? Or we say that we're there for them, but are we bringing the truth to them? Because if they're really in need of something, what more can we do for them than not only meet their physical need, but also meet their spiritual need and introduce them to Jesus? If we're not doing the second, then we're really missing the whole thing. Because this time on earth is temporary, but where their soul goes, that will be eternal. It's so easy for things to happen when there's this underlying hatred because racially we're different. We're seeing that right now more than we've ever seen before. Oh, they don't look like me? Oh, I know a lot of you guys can't, but a lot of people are, oh, they're going to vote for somebody different than me? Nope, can't do it no more. We was friends up until that. Oh, they want to wear a mask and I don't, or vice versa? Nope, can't do it no more. They think COVID is this and I think it's that? Nope, can't do it no more. We find all of the reasons in the world legit, admirable, legit reasons on why we don't choose this. But let's jump right back into what happens next. So the Samaritan saw him as he traveled and took pity. A better way to put it, instead of just he took pity on him. Finally, another man, a Samaritan, came upon the bleeding man and was moved with tender compassion for him. He stooped down and gave him first aid, pouring olive oil on his wounds, disinfecting them with wine, which would have been like rubbing alcohol, and bandaging him to stop the bleeding. Lifting him up, he placed him on his own donkey and brought him to an inn. Then he took from him his donkey and carried him to a room for the night. The next morning, he took his own money from his wallet and gave it to the innkeeper with these words: "Take care of him until I come back from my journey. If it costs any more than this, I will repay you when I return." So now tell me, which one of these three men who saw the wounded man proved to be the true man? It's so crazy. We will look at that and be like, that man went over and beyond what he had to do. No, he did exactly what God was saying he would do for us. You got to realize, to be like Christ, the first thing that you have to do is to stop with any of the excuses on why you don't want to help. I'm not saying that's easy. But can I tell you something that's really controversial that a lot of people don't like to tell you? Christianity isn't easy. I got into Christianity because I thought it was going to be easy. I got into Christianity because someone said, someone else did all the work and I just got to receive it. Someone else did the work. There's also something for us to do as well. What does empathy truly look like? First, like I said, you stop the excuses. Stop holding on to the lie on why you can't do something and hold on to the truth on why you can't. Hold on to Jesus and he'll tell you why you can't do something. Then show genuine care for somebody. When he saw him, instant compassion overtook him. You need to recognize what people's actual needs are. It says he saw the man's wounds and he put olive oil and disinfected them. He saw the individual wounds he had and took care of the individual wounds that he had. I'm going to be a little shady for a second. We can be shady sometimes. Band-Aids. I love Band-Aids. Anybody ever got a cut? Put a Band-Aid on, that's great. Recently, they decided to come out with like darker Band-Aids, which I'm like, dope. I can finally look like the Band-Aid can kind of look like me. Not like me, because I'm real dark, but like most of you guys who are in the room, the Band-Aid might actually fit your complexion. That's cool, but let's be honest, that didn't address some of the issues that were going on in society. And sometimes I feel like we do what Band-Aids do. I'm going to address this thing because this is easy for me to recognize. This is easy for me to address because it doesn't hurt for me to address it. But just because it's easy for you to digest does not mean that you're actually eating the wounds that they have. Don't go for what's easy. Christians don't go for what's easy. if it means a real difficult conversation, that you can do that. Even if that means you having some restitution come forward, because the next thing we see after he meets his needs with the Band-Aid, with the bandages and the olive oil and the wine, the next thing we see is he put him on his donkey and decided to walk with him. Like I said, this is a 6-hour journey that the man's going on. We don't know where in this journey he's at, but if he's gonna put him on his donkey and walk next to him, I want to encourage you, if you're gonna truly empathize with somebody, you need to be willing to walk next to somebody for a length of time.
That's good, Zach.
If you don't walk next to them for a length of time, you won't truly understand where they're going. We always talk about walking around somebody else's shoes, but a lot of times, a mile can be done in like 8 minutes. 10 minutes if you're going slow. That's not enough time to truly see some of the hurts that some of the people have out there in society. You have to be walking by them day by day, by day, by day, by week, by month, by year, and then you'll get a small glimpse of what a lot of other people have experienced. Me and Melissa have completely different experiences. The more I get to know her, the more I get to understand her experiences. The more you get to understand their experiences, the more you can empathize. I want to encourage you that the next thing we do, we see him put him on the donkey, and then what he do? He walks into an inn. Find a safe place for you guys to have some of these conversations. You don't have to do them just anywhere. I'm going to be honest, a lot of people are trying to have conversations on social media that don't need to be had on social media. Not saying all of them, but a lot of them, they're not really safe places for you to actually have a conversation. People are only looking to hear what you have to say to argue with you. They're only looking to hear what you have to say to disagree with you. What I can tell you is passion is a safe place. Whether that's here in person, whether that's you watching online and wanting to communicate through the comments, or you can message us online on Instagram at Passion Student Ministries, it'll be right here, or maybe you want to email us at Passion Students. There's so many different places that if you need to have a conversation about why you're hurt about a certain thing, maybe it's something that's happened at a church, maybe there's stuff that's going on with the race in the world, maybe something that you've experienced, sexism, bigotry, whatever it is, Passion, NCC is the same place. I can't say that about everywhere in the world. We may disagree, but I also love you to the end of the world, even if we do disagree. And maybe some of you guys need to find a safe place or start a safe place among your friends, at your schools, on some of your social media platforms, where you know that you're just going to post love and encouragement to create a safe place that people can start having conversations about how to truly have empathy for other people. Not about what's going on with race, not about how to have empathy for someone else. Okay, so we show genuine care for them, stop making excuses, recognize their actual need and address that, walk beside somebody for a length of time to recognize their need. Once you recognize their need and you walk alongside of them for a while, then you create a safe place to have the conversation. Okay, what do we see happens next? We see this man come out of his pocket. That man said, I'm not just going to talk about it, I'm going to be about it. Let's be real. I can tell you I care about you, but you know how much you will really tell how much I care about you? How much time and how much money I'm willing to spend on you. Do you realize a lot of the stuff that we've done here for Passion, a lot of this stuff comes out of our own pocket. Not because we don't have the money with Passion, but I want to put skin in the game. I care about you guys so much. I'll buy stuff out of my pocket for like, I don't need reimbursement. I just love you guys. I want to do this for you. When you start having real and that, if you've ever been broke before, I don't know how many of you have ever been broke. I've been broke where I was supposed to have real money. I had $4. $4. That's it. I had other stuff I had to do. $4. Couldn't do nothing else than have $4. I've been broke before where $4 was what I had to my pay. And when you talk about spending money, that'll put you into a place of discomfort. Yeah. But to be honest, that's what we're called to do, is be in a place of discomfort to empathize with somebody else. Because when you're having a tough conversation, it's tough for a reason. It shouldn't be comfortable. If we start talking about racism, I'm gonna be real with you. A lot of my white brothers and sisters in here might get a little uncomfortable. I understand. It should be uncomfortable. But in the same way that when my wife or other women try to talk to me about the differences and pay gap and stuff like that, sexism should be uncomfortable. I should not be comfortable as a man. Because that is wrong, and if it's wrong, somewhere in me I should recognize that, and that should cause me some kind of anguish, some kind of discomfort. So let's be willing to be discomforted for somebody else because we care about them. Because we have empathy towards them. At the very end of the day, and this is what I'm going to finish with, I feel like if we really begin to understand what true empathy looks like, Melissa, I need you one more time. If we truly look at what empathy looks like, then you can erase all of those things. And we'll talk about this more next week, but the thing that I want to get more than anything else, empathy looks like sacrificial love. Sacrificial love. That's what empathy truly is. Because if we look at what this man had to do, he sacrificed every step of the way. The Good Samaritan, when he loved his neighbor truly, he bandaged his wounds, he poured oil and wine, which would have cost money, time, effort. He put the man on his donkey. That man put him on his sense of, because not everybody had donkeys during that time, so that would have been like him putting him in a higher place for a second than where he was at. He walked with him, walked beside of him to the next end, and took care of him, and then was willing to pay somebody else so he could feel comfortable. We need to choose to have that type of sacrifice for somebody else. I want to encourage you out there and us in person that there are things that we're going to have to sacrifice if we're going to truly be like Jesus. If we're going to truly empathize the way that he empathized for other people. Next week, we're going to talk a little bit more, not about what Jesus said about empathy, but how he truly empathized with all of us, but specifically with Mary, Martha, and my homeboy, Lazarus. Before we get into that, I want everybody to bow their heads, close their eyes, even if you are watching at home. We're going to do something really quick. I'm just going to give everybody an opportunity to recognize, if you have not been living with true empathy, a sacrificial love for somebody else, a sacrificial love for somebody else. It's one of the most important things that you can do. Once you recognize who your neighbor is, that's cool. But until you choose to love them to the point that it costs you to sacrifice, we'll see so much pain and anguish still in this world. If you know that you have friends or family, or maybe some of your classmates or people online have caused you to be in a place where you haven't been empathizing with other people, I want to encourage you to raise your hand. And I'm going to pray for you. I'll put my hand up there because people have put some stuff out there, and it's got me a little upset, and I haven't been the best at empathizing with other people's perspectives and thought process. I see that hand. So if you know that you need to work on your empathy level a little bit over this next week, I want to encourage you to raise your hand. I see those hands. I see that hand. I see that hand. I see that hand. If you don't think that you need to work with empathy, I'm going to just throw out a scenario. Maybe you are in class, or maybe you're at work, and there's this one person that every time they talk to you, they just annoy you. You're super short with them, and you're like, bro, if you say another word to me, I don't want to hear anything you have to say. Maybe it's because of something that they said in the past. Maybe it's because of the way that they choose to act. There's someone who just annoys you beyond all end, that you can't choose to love them the way Jesus did. Love them to the point of sacrifice, where even if they do annoy you, that you're willing to go out of your way to help them, to support them, then you might need to work on your empathy level a little bit. So I'm going to, one more time, raise your hand if you need to work on your empathy level. You can raise your hand at home if you need to work on your empathy level. It's not about you raising your hand, but it is about you actually showing that you recognize where you're at. Because that's the first part of empathy. Recognize where you're at, and then begin to, like we said, go from outside to inside. I just want to pray for you really quick. Lord, you're so awesome. I thank you that you recognize that all of us have issues that we need to work on. God, I think that you would help us to work on some of the areas where we could be a little bit more empathetic towards people, whether it's people on our social media, whether it's people that we are in person with, whether it's people through Zoom, through class, through work, whatever it is, God. I think that we will be more empathetic through this next week, having a true sacrificial love for somebody else the way that you have taught us. God, I think if there's anybody out there under the sound of my voice who doesn't know you, I think that they would just open up their hearts and receive you right now. It doesn't take some kind of fancy prayer. It just takes them asking you to come into their lives and be the person that helps lead them. We give you everything. In Jesus' name I pray. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us online. We will see you guys next week. Come back for part 2 of this series. And we love you guys a lot.